Hello, everybody, and welcome to VFR. Today we are here on the ground in Montauk, New York, and we are going to be heading out on our Transcon 2022 for Pennsylvania. Somewhere in Pennsylvania we'll get to. Not sure exactly how far yet, but at least to Gettysburg. So thank you all for coming along here on this this new stream for VFR. We're going to be doing a bit of a longer trip. This will be a series over a longer stretch of time. So we'll get going here in a second. We are going to be on VATSIM. That's the challenge I'm imposing on myself for all of this. So let's get going. And I can unmute that here too. So we are in Boston Center right now, but we're in the Cessna 310R. Now I'm going to fill us up basically as full as we will go on the main tanks and just see if we have enough weight.
Is that for Delta 530?
I got to turn off my battery.
300 knots for greater for speed.
And avionics for this now. We'll do an inspection actually here to start with, just to see where we get to. So this is our current state of our airplane. We've got left engine, some wonky cylinders and spark plugs on the right engine, something to keep an eye on. But we shouldn't have to overhaul anything just yet. So now we're going to add full fuel in the wing tanks and a little bit less in the tip tanks. That should be fine. We'll also clean the airplane before we go. That'll help too. Let's get battery and alternator master on. We'll turn on nav lights as well. Now for loadout, we've got one person in the front right, one person in the front right. So it's just us and a buddy. We've got plenty of baggage, all the baggage in. We're at 4,900 pounds of weight. We've got 550 max takeoff weight. The last thing here, let's close up the nose door and get going. We are here at Montauk. So Montauk Airport. If we go to our chart and flight plan real quick before we get too far into anything. We've got... we're out here at the far tip of Long Island. We might call that cheating as far as being New York, but we'll fly past New York. But we are touching the Atlantic off to our south, actually, in Long Island Sound of the North. So we'll fly up Long Island Sound, basically east until we hit the Hudson River. Once we hit the Hudson River, we're going to turn in and fly the Hudson River corridor here, the New York Special Flight Rules area underneath the Bravo airspaces of the New York airports, come out to the south, and then basically head out Philly way. I've penciled in the Robbinsville VOR here. Anywhere in this area will work. We can then, at this point, climb up to 3,500, or just enough to clear this, clear Trenton, and then we'll basically make our way to the west and really start cutting out west. So we're going to fly past New York and Newark. We'll fly over New Jersey, Princeton, and Trenton, and then we will fly to the north of Philly. We won't go inside or under the Bravo at Philly, but we will skirt the north edge of the city. At that point, we will fly out. I've got the Pottstown VOR in here for now. We can turn left there, and then we're heading towards Gettysburg. Obviously, Gettysburg of American Civil War fame, one of the most famous battles there. So that's where we will get to. And from there, it's open-ended. We'll see what kind of time we make. I'm shoving off a little late tonight, so we may not make it much further than that. I think ultimately the goal is going to be Pittsburgh, possibly as far... Well, I think Pittsburgh is about as far as we could go. We could also go overland towards West Virginia, through Morgantown or something like that. But I think Pittsburgh is kind of the next big landmark city on this way. From Pittsburgh, we can either go north to Cleveland and across, or I think what we're going to do, I like some Wright Brothers stuff. We'll end up making a stop in Dayton in honor of the Wright Brothers. And then you go Dayton to Chicago being the next big city. And then from there, who knows how far we get and which way we go. There's a few ways, but this is the first chunk that we're going to carve out of this. And again, this will be a longer form series, so we'll be doing this for a little while. So thank you all for coming along. Let's get this thing fired up. And in the air, we are in VATSIM today, but Montauk is an uncontrolled airport. So we're going to be flying. Our goal is to basically be VFR the whole time, not worry about it. And, but yeah, that should be just about it. Thank you all for coming along, and yeah, come along as we get set up and get going here on VATSIM. So battery on, alternators, or alternators here are now on with the battery. We've got nav lights on. We can turn on our beacon anti-collision light here and just do a quick control wipeout. Nope, that's not going to be quite right. So let's adjust controls such that controls will give us what it want, and we're not flying a 737 today. We're flying a twin, and we want twin left and twin right. Make sure that does what we think it'll do. So far, so good. Mixture and prop RPM. Perfect. Okay, so all set there. We've got beacon, nav light, batteries are on. Let's make sure that we have fuel. If I was a good pilot, I'd turn the fuel off, but I did. Look at that. So, of course, we are flying in the 310R, which has some state-saving options available to us, which is a nice little feature for something like this where we're going to be doing it over and over again. This is in the owned state, so whatever we do, however we leave the panel at the end of tonight, will be how we pick it up the next time we fly it. Okay, so we're ready to go there. We can start getting set up for engine start. Props full forward, mixture full rich, and we'll crack the throttle open in just a little bit. We're on the main tanks. Once we get started, we will turn up the aux pumps, and anything else is not necessary at the moment. Anti-collision is on, and yeah, we'll turn avionics on once we get there. So that's all good. Let's close up the doors and do it. Open up our little shout window. That's a pretty cool one of the Cub variants over there. Okay, so that's all on. Let's start the left engine. Magneto's on. Everything else should be fine. We'll probably run the left engine. And let's see if that's enough. So that's the left engine. We can go low on the aux fuel pumps. And we'll get ready to start the right engine. Right magnetos on. We'll open up the right throttle just a little bit. And fire it up. All right, good stuff. So I'll keep a little bit of throttle in, let the engine warm up. Aux pumps to low for the takeoff. Where's the flies out over here? So we are all set. Avionics will come on now. We're going to get 122.8 tuned in here, and I'll probably see about tuning in Boston Center on COM 2. They're 134.7 today.
10350, Shamrock OK 35.
122.8 will be transmitting on that, and we'll monitor 1 and 2. Make sure that takes in VPilot, and it does. So again, technically we're in Boston Center at the moment according to the maps.
JetBlue 1240.
But not so much in terms of, you know, physically we're at Long Island, New York.
Exchange approved. Good night. Thank you. United 2396.
Just do our final preps and checks, normalizing VPilot a little bit. Again, technically, legally, on this route, we don't have to talk to anybody, so that's all fine. I am going to bug our initial cruising altitude is going to be 2,500 leaving Montauk. That's enough to keep us below the New York class Bravo shelf once we get out to the Hudson River, because that shelf's at 3,000, and then once we turn into the VFR corridor, we're limited to 1,000 feet. I think it's something actually like 1,300. Yeah, 1,300 feet in the New York Special Flight Rules area. Now, I assume they do it in VETSIM. I don't know if they do or not, but either way, we can call them up and say, ask for clearance into the Bravo too. But I think they do it because DC doesn't do a lot of the Special Flight Rules area stuff, but that's because it's kind of specific. Everyone has to be talking for national security reasons and all that. So let's do, we've got 1,200. We are squawking VFR with altitude. Let's get the flight plan set up. We're going to Montauk to Whiskey 05 Gettysburg. I'm going to just punch in FEMDU
1987.
as a general, get us in the ballpark. And then tickle.
Boston approach Wrestler 30, Delta 530, thank you.
And then RBV Romeo Bravo Victor. The Robbinsville VOR, I believe. We don't want the one in South Africa. And then going the rest of the way to the Pottstown VOR. Papa Tango Whiskey. All right.
Frequency change approved 171, thank you.
And just verify this. Here again, we're flying out over Long Island Sound. We do have to, there's a couple of control towers we'll have to keep an eye on at our altitude, but should be fine. All right, we are about ready to go. Let's spin it around, taxi up. I'm going to find a chart for Montauk if I can. Doesn't look like I have that. But we've got a runway 6 and a runway 24, and the wind is 050 at 5 knots. So it sounds like runway 6 departing out to the east is what we're going to want. And I believe we're at the right end of the airport for that too. Just make sure everything's good. Montauk traffic, Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We're taxiing runway 6 from the apron, Montauk. So this is good. Let's get taxi lights on. I'm also going to just extend our landing lights out too. And we can pull the park brake.
Then via the J-Fund 2, we're going to expect 4 right.
So thank you all for coming along here on Transcon 2022, the very first flight of this hopefully epic trip. I think we'll take most of the fall to do in smaller chunks. I'm not saying we'll do this forever and every time until we...
170 for the road.
I'm not saying that's the only thing we will do until it's finished, but it will be one of the things that we do. Okay, so let's just do a quick courtesy check and make sure, yes, there's no one in the area around us. Luckily, VATSIM, we have omniscience, and we can see that we're the only ones at the airport, but let's make a call anyway. Montauk traffic, Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We're taking runway 6, departing out to the west, Montauk. So let's roll on out onto runway 6. We've got landing lights on. Strobes can come on. Mixture full rich, props full forward. We can go for just 1 notch of flaps. I'm going to bring the power up. Let's get the engine instruments in there too. Setting about 30 inches manifold pressure. And away we go. So again, we're going to make a left-hand turn off the runway here. Airspeed's alive. That's right about 80 there. 90 knots. Trees are looking pretty big. Pretty tall trees. I see why you have the display threshold. Gear coming up. Flaps coming up. And then let's just come off once we're pretty happy.
Oh, thank you. That's the nicest thing you said to me, like a week. I said it last night. And then back to me for a second.
That we're climbing out.
Niner Bravo Charlie, you said 8,000, correct?
We will bring it back to 25 inches and 2,500 RPM for the rest of the climb. Let's start making our left-hand turn. And again, we're climbing out for 2,500 feet here. 2,500 feet is what we're looking for out of Montauk. And I'm not sure
Niner Bravo Charlie, you said 8,000, correct?
7,000, thanks for checking.
what the clicking is.
7,000, Niner Bravo Charlie.
Looks like it's the taxi light.
1989, descent via the Roebuck 3 arrival, runway 4 right, Boston altimeter 2993.
It's climbing up to 1,000 feet now. Let's keep it going.
Good evening, Boston Center. This is JetBlue 2668 with you at 16,000.
72668 Boston Center, climb and maintain, follow 380.
Roger, climb, maintain 30, JetBlue 26.
Yeah, we're off that so we can bring the
Static
aux pumps off
1989,
too.
descent via the Roebuck 3 arrival, runway 4 right, Boston.
Just checking engines.
Send via the Roebuck 3, 1989.
4 right.
Yeah, ILS 4 right, 1989.
And then I'm going to set this for 283.
Descent via the J Fund to 2 arrival, runway 4
So that's
right,
27.
2903.
28283 or so.
Over 325 Juliet Papa, wind 0408, runway 15, clear to land.
0408, clear to land, 15, 5 Juliet Papa.
Status 350, climb and maintain 10250.
150, Boston Center, Southwest 458, 14 tons.
Status 450, Boston, good evening, climb and maintain 103.
And if we want to get some nav information here, we can turn it over to GPS.
Air Canada 212.
So climbing out over Long Island and the Long Island Sound.
I'm sorry?
Let's keep it climbing up to 2,500 and we will get it set up. So Montauk, of course, is
Okay,
a
what's the
popular
position altitude
upscale
that I can help
resort.
you
Lots of fishing out in Montauk. This whole area, flying by what would be known as the Hamptons. Further in, I'm not sure exactly where it starts, but if you watched anything like Seinfeld, they like to go to the Hamptons. This is what they're talking about. So popular New Yorker vacation spot out here on the Atlantic coast. The Atlantic Ocean is out that way. We're flying into Long Island Sound. Now Boston up that way. Let's keep the climb out going. Not get too distracted.
Center sense anything, thanks Charlie to ramp, have a good night.
Have a good night.
So let's check on our temperatures too. How are our temperatures? Comfortable but cooling slowly, so we'll have to, we'll address that in a minute.
326 across Calverton at and maintain 12,000 and 250 knots.
Lost, can you say again for American 226?
American 326 across Calverton at and maintain 12,000, 250 knots.
Across Calverton and
And right there is about 2,500.
12,250 knots.
12,250.
And we will ask it to hold 2,500
American
feet.
326, thank you, and the altimeter 29er, 89er.
We can even ask it to hold nav for now.
Altimeter 2989, American 226, thank you.
We'll see if it actually does that.
Contact Boston approach 133.0, good night.
1330, thanks for the ATC.
Air Canada 2 radio check.
Air Canada 612, contact Moncton Center 132.2, have a good night.
So out over Long Island, let's get it configured for a bit of a
American
cruise.
27 descend via the Roebuck 3 arrival,
Let's see
runway
if she
4
comes
right,
left.
Boston altimeter 2993.
Descend via the Roebuck 3, runway 4 right, 2993 in the altimeter, 1727.
November 415, Tango Bravo, Boston Center, Providence, altimeter 2991, expect the ILS 23 approach. I'm sorry, ILS 25 approach.
Last thing, let's configure mixtures.
ILS 5, 415, Tango Bravo.
Just
Okay,
leave.
212, go ahead with the reback, mic's working.
Yeah, my mic's working now, reset.
Go ahead with the reback, do you need it one more time?
Yeah, we need it one more time.
Okay,
All
Canada
right, thank you all
212,
for coming along.
descend
We
via
are
the J
just
Fund
out
to
over
arrival,
Long
runway
Island
4
now.
Right, Boston altimeter
2,500, listening to the sweet sounds of Boston Center. Overhead us, the big jets moving to and fro.
JetBlue 26 or state, requesting a step
We're heading now towards New York. So our next stop's going to be New York City. We're going to fly the Hudson River. We're going to fly up the Hudson River, using the Special Flight Rules Area Corridor, underneath the New York Class Bravo.
Echo Quebec Hotel,
It's basically a little channel. We've flown it on the channel before a couple times.
Just give me a minute, I'll try to figure this out.
But we're
Number
essentially
415,
going to fly
Tango
low
Bravo,
altitude,
250,
straight up the
back to
Hudson River
5
past
approach,
downtown New York,
5,000.
Manhattan.
Right heading 250, descend and maintain 5,000, Tango Bravo. Delta 23, contact Boston approach 133.0, good night.
130, Delta 23, good night.
And so I'm also trying to call.
And while this isn't going to necessarily be a grand tour of the USA, I will try and pepper in some fun anecdotes along the way, or whatever Wikipedia can conjure.
Walker 451 Boston, good evening.
And if ATC is too loud, let me know, because not really the focal point, but it is good for the quiet parts.
Maintain 1000, Bradley altimeter 2990.
Cross the land, maintain 110.
Let me know between which runway you want, 6233.
Now, the route that I've planned out so far should take us about an hour and 45 minutes.
Leave the Myers base. New York is closed. Radar service terminated for exchange food. Have a
And
night.
from there, it's probably another hour to Pittsburgh, so we'll just see how it goes. Let me put a little blurb in. But so far, so good. Looks like we lost New York Center too, so it may not figure out whether that sim New York really recognizes the SFRA or not. Not a big deal if they don't. We can just get cleared into the Bravo, but the couple times I've flown it, it's been online but control offline.
Boston Center, J2660 with exit.
Thank you. November 415, Tango Bravo, channel heading 230, descend to maintain 3000.
Less 230 and 3000, Tango Bravo.
Delta 294, Boston Center, climb and maintain, Bravo 220.
Maintain, Federal DT, Delta 294.
Double 31, Boston Center, climb and maintain 16000.
passing 11.
And for our poll for today's flight, we're going to be registering our opinions on direction of flight.
16,000, request separate.
Which do you prefer, flying east to west or west to east? Doesn't have to be in the U.S.,
Okay, sounds good.
but anywhere.
Walker 451, descend via the Ocean 5 arrival, runway 4 right, Boston altimeter 2993. 2993, descend via the Ocean 5 for 4 right, Walker 451. Air Canada 874, clear direct Lendy, descend and maintain, flight level 190.
Clear direct Lendy, descend and maintain, flight level 190.
I guess I find that I mostly fly northeast to southeast, but
376, leave Myers space.
Northeast to
Washington
southwest.
Closed, radar service terminated,
But-
change of food, have a good night.
Going over to Unicom for VistaJet 376.
Just depends.
Thanks, FedEx 1989, contact Boston approach 133.
So a little more about our airplane of choice. We are, of course, flying the fabled Milviz/Blackbird, whatever they're called now, Cessna 310R. My favorite GA plane, I think, in total.
78 Boston Center. Are you able the Ocean 5 arrival?
Really like having the steam. I really like the steam gauges, but also the GTN 750 helps with what we're doing today.
The Portland 6 departures.
But it's just the perfect mix for me of performance and practicality.
Hotel November, and then the Ocean 5 arrival.
So let's see. We've got the flying up Long Island now. There's a couple airports off to our left. Just slip. We've also got Hartford, and Bradley is. That's Providence. Where's Bradley? Bradley's further in. Bradley's here.
Taxi runway 11.
So again, not a ton, but there's a lot of traffic overhead of us.
415 Tango Bravo, channel heading 180, descend and maintain 2000.
Basically, we're right around where you would get handed off between New York and Boston if you were flying into Boston
Boston
from the south.
835, request step away for a few minutes. Upper.
So we are cruising now. Let's see, we're up to I penciled in our cruise speed of about 160. Been flight planning on Skyvector with 140. So that's kind of what where we're living.
Hello, Providence altimeter 2991. Enter a left downwind runway.
Weather so far is really good.
left down for 7-0. Thanks.
Maybe even too good.
Verify runway 5.
It is on live weather.
5.
Not sure that is the live weather, but there's some clouds out there, maybe.
JetBlue 831, we're back.
And so we'll just have to keep an eye on the weather for us, as we go. The next one we're going to go over is White Plains, which is reporting 10% visibility, light wind, few clouds at about 5,000 feet. But in a VFR flight, that's going to be more important for us. Bridgeport is the airport that we're gonna. That's
for it, Alpha Delta contact Boston.
That's this one here, Bravo Delta Romeo.
133.0, thanks for job.
Well, I just have to keep an eye on that, make sure we don't clip their towered airspace there.
Left 2 to be clear for the local line for passing Bravo.
We can even turn out a little bit into the sound.
Save on dark.
And so we are going to use, obviously, autopilot for this, at least parts of it, although once we get down to the New York River visual,
I'm just making sure. You're not getting it, but
we'll have to fly that by hand, because that's a tricky one.
6 miles from Cutby, maintain 2,000.
And again, in case you haven't heard it, we are November 866 Tango Whiskey today, or Twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey, in our trusty 310R 6 Tango Whiskey.
Let me see. I'm just waiting on.
I'm just going to pull up the rest of the info there on that second screen.
Do you want VFR or IFR? Okay, let's see. Squawk 4723.
Let's check on the temperatures too. Cool and steady is what they're giving me, so that's fine. We'll take that. I don't mind cool. And the other thing to do, just sinking heading bug. We'll even kind of pencil in a slight left. Now again, once we get to New York, we're going to skirt under the New York class Bravo.
New York approach is closed. Unicom, have a good night.
The New York Bravo starts at 3,000 feet, 3,000 to 7,000 feet out there.
Delta 294, expect the ILS 1833 approach.
Expect the ILS 1833 or Delta 294.
American 1727, contact Boston, approach 133.0, have a good night.
Approach 33 zip 1727, we'll see you.
Echo Quebec Hotel, radar contact 80 miles west of the Bradley Airport. I'll show that as your new destination and expect runway 6 tonight.
Let's think, let me just get some light in. Just a little hard to see in cruise sometimes. We do have sun visors that we can use as well. Just messing around with that.
1585 Boston, hello, climb and maintain 50360.
So if we're curious about playing around with some more nav instruments.
Hello, number 234 with you, 14,000 direct shot.
Number 234, Boston Center.
We can pick up the Bridgeport VOR on 1088.
There you are, number 234, climb and maintain 503.
108.
Up to 234.
Just put that in, that's the Bradley.
Tango Bravo, wind 0607, runway 5, clear to land.
We land runway 5 for 5.
Bradley VOR there, you can see we're 20 miles from it, that's about right.
Delta 350, descend via the J-Fund to arrival, runway 4 right, Boston altimeter 2993.
And then again, if you look, it's nice because this shows your airspaces, but we do have the Long Island class Charlie down here that we'll also be looking out for.
The good part was that I didn't say if you'd like to.
Okay. J-Fund 2, 4 right, Delta 350.
You know, power hungry me and all that stuff.
Which is self-aware.
More than aware.
Sounds like a fairly busy night in Boston.
4742.
Again, this is going to be one of those things that probably dies away a little bit as we get towards the middle of the country. But it's nice to have ATC while we got it, even when we don't need it.
JetBlue 7, contact Moncton Center 132.2, have a good night.
132.2, JetBlue 7, have a good one.
November 594, Mike to center, maintain 5,000.
Maintain 5,000, 594.
Air Canada 212, contact Boston, approach 133.0, good night.
Contact 150.0,
JetBlue 648, radar contact over Hank, maintain final 350.
Maintain 250, Jet.
Air Jamaica 877, leaving my airspace, New York is closed, radar service terminated, frequency change approved, have a nice flight. And let's see here, JetBlue 2215, Boston, climb and maintain final 280. Let's try a different one, Emirates 94, Julia Boston, hello, climb and maintain final 360.
Climb and maintain final 360, Emirates 94, Julia, thanks. Boston, Action Jet 778 at the underground of Portland, ready to taxi.
This is 778, runway 11, taxi Charlie Alpha.
Well, 11 Charlie Alpha, actually, that's what it is.
Number 594, J Mike, doing back to Stefano 1 or one of the initial approach fixes.
I think we're fine on 594, Mike.
594, Mike, okay, let me switch something up.
So hanging out here over Long Island
594, Mike,
Sound,
heading 150.
Connecticut off to our right, New York on our left. And we'll mostly,
294, descend at pilot's discretion, maintain 1000, Burlington altimeter 299.
here I'll kick out a little bit, we'll go over to heading mode.
294.
And just kick out a little bit away from the Bradley, not the Bradley, from the Bridgeport airspace there. And again, this is not about picking up the fastest, most optimal route across the states, really. This is kind of more of a laid back, hang out at adventure as we just kind of fly along. I haven't done, these trips have sometimes been my favorites, just, you know, flying offline. Especially when you put the time in to figure out some cool routes, to see some cool stuff. It can be tough, you know, going from nothing to that. It may get tough out over some of part of where we're going, but no, there's stuff out there. So we've kind of kicked out that way. We can now turn back right.
November 4710, wind 0606, 185, clear line.
And we're going to cross back over land, probably somewhere out there.
November 1010, runway 5, clear line.
Runway 5, clear land, 710.
Number 415, saying about, welcome Providence, left turn at the end, and good job with IFR 2.
Left turn at the end, thank you, nothing about it.
So thank you again for all for coming along. It's just a fun way. Maybe next time we'll go back west to east, see what we can do there. But it's also just good to spend some time in planes like this. These trips are fun because you do kind of get to focus on one plane for a little while, get into a rhythm, learn the stuff. I actually know this one pretty well by now, but it is good just to do it, just to fly it a bunch and really go through that. That's always nice.
November 594, Mike, descend and maintain 4,000.
594, Mike.
The good views over Long Island Sound again. 2,500 will go down to Oh, I don't know. Below, where's the New York Special Flight Rules Area chart? We'll be below 1300 at New York.
4091, 10,000, climbing.
I guess I gotta zoom in. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, 20C91 also hello, climb and maintain
Down below,
16,000, 2091.
1,300. So we'll probably take 1,000. We'll probably take 1,000 or 900 or something like that.
For 2660, we're having some problems with our autopilot over here. Maybe we can divert to the airport.
Let me know what you want to do.
So let's go now, direct Fem Duke.
Airport, W2668.
Alright, 72668. The nearest airport will be Albany, Alpha Lima Bravo. Is that gonna, and that should have plenty long runways for you. Are you cool with that?
Yep, just give me headings in for it, the W2668.
So 2668, no problem. Sliding to, or clear to the Albany airport, sliding 280, and descend and maintain 1000.
Got to love a diversion. Got to love a diversion. Okay, so that's set up now, and our new track should be 286, it looks like.
Boston, good evening, group 2406, London 360.
So 2436 Boston, good evening.
So that's 29 there. So we could hit that. Okay, so back to World VFR. Where are we going? We're flying. We are going to overfly White Plains.
I hope you're gritting so hard your jaw breaks. Just a little bit, yeah. Walk
Does that get us into New York?
4731.
I think it does. That goes up to 3,000.
594 Mike, so heading 090.
So we'll probably just skirt south of that.
W831, cross Daisy at and maintain 8,000. LaGuardia altimeter 2990.
2990, BAC, add and maintain 8,000, W831.
Southwest 458, contact Moncton Center 132.
So we're now getting pretty close to where we're going to be talking about Special Flight Rules Area. We are going to have to avoid this White Plains Airport airspace. We're down at 2,500, so we'll clip it. We could fly down along the coast a little bit and then head up there. I think we'll be in New York airspace anyway by that point, so it doesn't really matter.
Bork, maintain 380.
But that would be through the Delta, and then we're going to get over to the Hudson River.
I hope you're happy with yourself now.
And then once we get down to the Special Flight Rules Area, we come down here 1,000 feet, hugging the right bank of the river heading southbound. We'll basically fly over all these reporting points, call them all out, fly past Statue of Liberty, out to over the VZ Bridge, and then out to the south. So that's the game plan. That's what we're going to do.
November 594 Mike, Delta 060.
Left 060, 594 Mike.
Delta 294, descend and maintain 7,000.
Descend and maintain 7,000, Delta 294.
Okay, so that's set up. And we'll basically stay off the coast to the south here. So let's go into heading mode.
November 710, welcome to Providence. Taxi surround via Mike Alpha.
And we'll just head down that way.
Mike Alpha, cross 34.
So we're clear of White Plains and then go in. So we're going to come under the Bravo shelf here. You can see the outlines on the GTN 750 now. Makes our job fairly straightforward.
So I can give you the ICAO code for the airport we're diverting to again, W2668.
Sure, Kilo Alpha Lima Bravo.
Roger, Kilo Alpha Lima Bravo 2668.
Number 594 Mike, turn right heading 090.
Right 090, 594 Mike.
So the next part's probably a more fun part of the raw VFR flying. Let's just see what's going on. Yeah, still not much. There's going to be some big jet traffic at LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark. So we're basically going to be flying between all those three airports. So keep an eye out for departing big jets.
Delta 2668, turn right heading, turn left heading 180.
And again, we are November 866 Tango Whiskey.
Exit descent 78, clear direct ocean.
Ocean, Exodus 798.
Everything else is looking pretty good. We've got a pressure, good in the manifold pressure.
November 594, Mike, descend and maintain 3000.
Key to this airplane is just keeping everything in the green.
Walker 451, contact Boston, approach 133.0. Have a good day.
So that's really all I'm trying to do. Let's zoom in a little bit now and get a detail view here. So that's the kind of gap we got to shoot. We'll get close.
Boston Center, good evening. Southwest 6520 with you, 14,000 on the pass 6 out of Boston.
November 594, Mike, amend out to make it 3,500.
And so now we're crossing just about, actually, according to Bat Prism, outside of
Southwest
Boston.
520 Boston, hello, climb and maintain, follow 340.
Climb 340, Southwest 6520.
I did forget some toolkit pro.
Delta 294, descend and maintain 6,000.
So let's get that fired up for posterity.
Descend 78, climb and maintain 12,000.
12,000.
And then the next band of it is going to be 1,500.
Descend via the J Fund to arrival, runway 4 right, Boston altimeter 29905. Number 594, Mike, surrounding 120 final approach course.
I turn 120, the final approach course.
Double 831, leaving my airspace. New York is closed. Radar service terminated. Frequency change approved. Have a good night.
So far so smooth. We'll get into the
W831, thanks for ATC left lane.
tougher parts now.
Take care. November 594, Mike, 2 miles from Dosa, maintain 3,500 until established on the final approach course, cleared RNAV, runway 15 approach.
JFK traffic, 3,500, final approach course, runway 15.
And so Bridgeport, or the White Plains Airport's up this way. Still Northern Connecticut.
420 Boston, good evening, climb and maintain, follow 360.
I maintain 360, United 420, thanks.
Delta 294, turn right heading 360, join the localizer.
Red heading 360, Delta 294.
So thanks for coming along, everybody, on Transcon 2022, where we take a small plane like this across the U.S. We departed Montauk about a half hour ago, and we're just about to shoot through the New York Special Flight Rules area. So we're going to make this a little bit of a left once we pass the White Plains Delta. Although I think we're technically in uncontrolled airspace anyway.
294 to set maintain 5,500.
Maintain 5,500 on the 294.
So let's start our turn now. And again, we'll just kind of turn northward here. I believe the next shelf is 1,500 for New York, so we'd have to descend a little bit. But either way, we need to enter the Hudson River corridor from the north. I'm also going to turn off Boston for now. As we head towards Femdu, is just kind of a nominal waypoint out there that I've got to mark. Hey, that's the Hudson River. Once we see the Hudson River, we need to get on the right bank to descend down to 1,000 feet and turn right. So we are now on Unicom. We're not too distracted. I'm going to mute anything else too, and we'll go sterile cockpit here for this, because this is the trickier, not tricky, but it is the more piloty of things to do. It requires a little bit of precision. And we're coming up on it now. So again, you can see the Hudson River out in front of us, and you can see New York popping in the off to our left. That's the city. We'll see what kind of performance we get coming through here. So let's keep it coming north. I guess I shouldn't have looked around. And we're also going to start our descent now for 1,000 feet. So let's get rid of autopilot. We'll take this by hand now. Come back on the power up bit. And head for 1,000. So we're going to do real piloting. This is one of my favorite VFR activities to do overall. I mean, it's up there. Grand Canyon's also fun, but this is fun with, especially on Hudson with airliners flying around. It would be fun to do. I wish they did a VFR event through here where you just try to pack it with VFR airplanes. But that would be a cool one, because in real life, this is a pretty busy stretch of airspace. You've got lots of tour helicopters going, lots of small GA planes like us. And it's just quite, from what I hear, quite hectic. But if you do want to see how to fly it, there are videos, instructional videos online. I think Fly Mike Alpha has one that I watched to set all this up. And again, we don't have to go all the way to FEMDU. We'll turn into the SFRA. It's right here. It starts right here, right at IE, or whatever that is. So let's pull up the chart too. The chart's on SkyVector, the SFRA, and we want to be down below 1,000 feet here. So we'll just kind of hang out at the north end of the Hudson until we're ready to go down. Our first visual reporting point is going to be Alpine Tower off our right. I've never seen it in the sim. I don't think it's in the sim. And then we get the George Washington Bridge. And then we have the aircraft carrier Intrepid. So we'll basically call those out on Unicom as we're going. After that, there's a clock, and then Statue of Liberty, then VZ Bridge, and then we're out. So again, down to 1,000 feet out over the river. And there will be terrain on either side. This terrain, it gets quite hilly just north of New York. So we're, again, not even 50 miles from New York at this point. Less than that. Shooting the gap between here and White Plains. And then we just want to keep the speed down to, they want you down below 140 knots. So let's pull back on just about everything we can to cruise at 140. We'll try and keep that up. We'll do our best. We're down at 1,500 feet now. And again, the strict floor is 1,300. We're not really competing for airspace, but we'll take 1,000 feet now. So thank you all for coming along. We're about to fly up the Hudson River for New York here on Transcon 22. Let's get ready to go. One of my favorites. When we'll make all the radio calls, the big jets don't care about us. They're not going to hit us or anything because they're going to be well away from this area. But it is fun to let them know there's a little GA plane here. So again, down to 1,000 feet, we'll hold the right bank. And we're turning inbound just about now. Coming down, we're now kind of legal to go in, 1,200.
JFK traffic, Delta 4683 is currently downwind to the island. Left approach. Currently 0.5 nautical miles away from DPOR LaGuardia.
And so as we go, keep an eye out for the big airliners coming in to land at Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia. So you get a trifecta here. 1,000, that is about 1,000 there. We'll see how performance is. I'm a little concerned. Settings up too high for this. But we'll level it off at about 1,000 feet here. And then I'm just going to go off of the GPS for Alpine Tower. Right around this GPS waypoint here. And again, once we're in cruise, this thing really does fly.
Okay, guys, so 4,000 planning on half the planner. Good night.
All right, and just one more check. Not that it matters. Yeah. And we are southbound.
Radio check.
Hudson River traffic. Black twin Cessna, 1,000 feet southbound on the river, passing Alpine Tower. So we're now in the special flight rules area. Let's keep the altitude up a little bit. We don't need to go down as low as 600 feet, especially when I told them 1,000 feet. So let's keep some power in. And it is a cool one. You can see the skyline in the distance. And just, yeah, the cliffs off the Hudson River, they're bigger than you'd think. You don't think of New York as a real hilly place. But just north of it, it is. Let's get back up to altitude.
JFK traffic, Delta 4683, Space Road, left from 2,000 feet.
I'll bump VPOT for this too a little bit. Going up on 800 feet. Let's make sure we got the right altimeter too. I was a little off. Okay, so next is George Washington Bridge. Off our left will be the city, obviously. On our right is New Jersey. Teterboro Airport will be off to our right here as we cross George Washington Bridge. Yankee Stadium will be off to our left, if you're interested in such things. Let's keep altitude up. And here's the bridge. You know, it would be really cool, and I've thought about making it or seeing, you know, what's out there, but a Hudson River visual pack that gets all the reporting marks down. You can, I mean, obviously, George Washington Bridge is a little blocky. But you can make out the Intrepid, which is the aircraft carrier turned into an air and space museum when you pass through it.
JFK traffic, Delta 4683, currently final for runway for 10 nautical miles away from the island.
So which way are they landing?
LaGuardia traffic, JetBlue 831, 10 mile final, runway 22 ILS, LaGuardia traffic.
So 22, they're landing west. Hudson River traffic, Black Twin Cessna crossing George Washington Bridge 1000 southbound. That's George Washington Bridge. Can really make out the skyline now. I've seen this one a bunch, but let's get flight recorder out anyway. And again, we're just trying to keep it over the river, but on the right bank. 1,000 feet. Flying live. Now again, I'm not 100% certain that VATSIM New York Center approach ARTCC actually recognizes the Special Flight Rules area. I know they don't do any SFRA stuff for DC, but the DC stuff is more security related. So it's stuff like you have to have a special permit to fly inside 30 miles of Washington and whatever. And I think all aircraft have to be in contact with ATC at a certain range. So I'd imagine this carves out a chunk of the Bravo, so I would imagine they recognize it, but I don't know that for certain. All right, we're coming up here now. New York, obviously, off to our left. Still New Jersey off to our right. If you look out that way, you can see Teterboro should be somewhere out there, and then Newark will be further south. We'll get a good view of Newark as we're going. But that is the city. That's Central Park.
JetBlue 831, 5 miles
down
final,
there, and you can see the Intrepid there. So that's the USS Intrepid. It's an old aircraft carrier that was decommissioned and stored in New York and is now a museum. So they have airplanes on that. It was in such notable movies as one of the National Treasure movies. Hudson River traffic, Black Twin Cessna passing Intrepid 1000 southbound. So obviously here we're getting into Manhattan. You can see the Empire State Building now off our left. Empire State Building. Newark, New Jersey off to our right. Where's the airport? I'm not sure exactly where the airport is. I think it's out that way where some of the lights are. LaGuardia obviously is kind of off to the corner here behind the buildings. Am I still at altitude while I'm talking? Yeah. And then JFK is going to be out here, vaguely. So if you're wondering where we are relative to that. So here we've got some ventilation towers for one of the tunnels that runs underneath the Hudson River. So that's a car tunnel running there to the actual city. And we're going to be passing clock here soon. River traffic, Black Twin Cessna passing clock 1000 southbound. And there she is. So the Statue of Liberty out here. We've got the One World Trade Center and Lower Manhattan down here. Wall Street, all of that, all the New York stuff right off of our left wing here. And then, of course, you have Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. Governor's Island is out there. And we'll descend and do a little bit of a good flyby here for the Statue of Liberty. I might have to go back and get that as a screen grab. I do it every time. River traffic, Black Twin Cessna past Statue of Liberty, heading out to southbound river. So Statue of Liberty.
LaGuardia traffic, Gateway 110, departing runway 31 to the west, LaGuardia.
New York. And yeah, so it's all downhill from here. Newark Airport is off that way. I think you can see it out there. It's easier to see in real life. And then, of course, JFK is out that way. So let's get back up to 1,000 feet. We're going to pass the VZ Bridge, and we're out of the area to the south. So let's give it a little power, climb up, and out. So that's one of my favorite little runs to do. It's really not that much pressure, especially when there's not a bunch of VFR traffic around you, but it is fun to fly past. I don't think we saw any of the airliners, but it is fun to fly. The one thing I'd love to do is do it during an event, a real busy New York event. Because again, of course, you're technically, legally not in controlled airspace here. We're out in a special flight rules area underneath a Bravo shelf. We're not actually in the New York class Bravo, but we've got it right above us. Hudson River traffic, Black Twin Cessna, we're out over VZ, 1,000 feet, departing the area to the south. Last call, Hudson River traffic. All right. So we're now hitting Tickle as well. We're still underneath the New York class Bravo, so we'll hang out here at 1,000 or so until we get out a little bit further, and then we'll pop back up to 2,500 and maybe even get a little crazy and go up to 3,500 if we are so inclined. But that's New York, New York. New York, New York. And yeah, we're heading out from New York. Now we're going to fly out over northern New Jersey for Philadelphia and then Gettysburg, and then we'll see where we go from there. So again, here, the key to flying VFR around this, just keep an eye on those different airspaces. I'm a little high on my manifold pressure, it looks like. Just, yeah, keep an eye on your altitude, keep an eye on what airspace you're under, and you should be just fine. Good fun flight, though. Weather is still beautiful. Let's do another weather check at, so Philly is reporting 10 surface mile visibility, clear, altimeter 209 or 89er. Yeah, not much to report. So I guess it is pretty clear here. We're at 1,500. Once we pass this blue line, we'll pop up and we'll be leaving the New York. Well, we're not quite out of it yet. We've got another line to go. We can climb back up to 2,500 though, and then up to 3,000. Now again, once we're going to fly basically over the towns of Princeton, Trenton, on down to Philadelphia. An area really, I mean, if you're looking historically, in terms of American history, is very much tied to the American Revolution. It's Washington crossing the Delaware and all of that. It's going to happen in this area that we're flying through. It's actually kind of funny how much of that whole thing happens between New York and Philadelphia. New York being held by the British for most of the Revolution, and Philadelphia being held by the Americans. But it's not in real life. It's really not a huge stretch of land that's going back and forth. And there are a bunch of Revolutionary War battles out here in New Jersey, out in Monmouth, which is further to the east than we're going to go. But Monmouth, Trenton, Princeton, all big ones. We'll fly past Brandywine too, another one on the other side of Philadelphia. So again, not for nothing. Very historic part of the U.S. here. So we're out here under this shelf. We're going to climb up to 2,500. And we'll trim it out for climb too a little bit and gain some altitude here. 2,500. The next waypoint we're going to is, I've got punched in the Robbinsville VOR 113.8. 1138. Hit enter and go. Climb through 1,500. We can pick up Robbinsville, which we're basically going to 20 miles out from that now. So Sonic Man, welcome aboard. BAF and BDL are your home airports. So Bradley, what's BAF? Is that I assume it's in the same area as Bradley. Ah, Barnes, I gotcha. Westfield Barnes Regional. Good airports. I've always enjoyed Bradley. As a simmer, never been there, but climbing through 2,500 now. And again, the magenta line here is kind of nominal. It's not a exact thing. We just need to kind of head this way and stay out of people's airspaces. 2,500, and we're about outside the New York Bravo now. We'll get there pretty soon. So the Bravo shelf is out at 3,000 here. But again, I think this is one of the busier corridors on a VATSIM, at least in the U.S. Certainly. So big jets going above us. For sure. All right, that's pretty good. Let's set autopilot. We'll get it to the altitude that we would like, which would be 2,500. Ideally. And we can steer with some heading mode to more or less maintain this track. I believe the GPS wants us on 235, which is going to be to 24, and then over a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're through New York, now out. I'm not sure if we're legally over New Jersey. I still haven't connected to Sim Toolkit Pro. I guess we are. We're out well into New Jersey at this point. See, again, basically Atlantic Coast out that way. Jersey Shore is out that way. Atlantic City, a popular Atlantic Coast beach town. And then off to our right is not a whole lot, but Princeton's going to be out that way a little bit. And then Trenton is right before, or right down the way we should fly. We should overfly that one pretty closely. And we're outside the Bravo, so let's bump it up to 3,500. And we'll do it the lazy way. It's yelling at me. So you couldn't ask for much better weather for our first VFR flight in Transcon 2022. Again, this could be a longer series. If we do 2 hours a pop, just roughing it out, it probably will take 10 or so episodes. We might do a couple of longer ones, especially out over the Midwest. So we're basically, I think we're going to stop in Chicago. So we'll basically fly out here through Pennsylvania up to Chicago. Let me get the map up. Here. So here's all of the US. We can turn off actually the weather layer. Here's the US. We are somewhere around here. We got to go to here. I think San Francisco on this well, I guess San Francisco's down here. So San Francisco out here, we're here. This is about what 1.5 to 2 hours of flying will get us to here. So, you know, our next leg might take us up to Pittsburgh and then out to Dayton. And then, you know, Dayton, home of the Wright brothers, we could maybe pause there and then make the jump to Chicago. If you wanted to fly past Indianapolis, we could do that as well. And let's see what else. You have St. Louis down here. So there's kind of a north route and a south route we could do. You could just kind of keep going straight here, bypass Chicago, and go for St. Louis instead, and kind of you could do a Lewis and Clark thing, which would take you up the Missouri River up towards Minneapolis and up this way. Not really the best route for flying it. You could do a straight across though to Kansas City, and then Denver is out here. So once we're past the, you know, Chicago, St. Louis area, the next big one is Denver. You also have Kansas City, but Denver that way. So my vision kind of for this next few legs is here to somewhere in Pennsylvania. If we get to Gettysburg, if we get to Pittsburgh, whatever, I'm still not sure how far we're going to go. And then finishing up Pennsylvania to Dayton, somewhere in Ohio, then on to Chicago, fly around Chicago, and then probably cut straight across. So you can go through Omaha, Nebraska would maybe be a good next stop from there. That's probably a good 2-hour flight, and then make a longer jump to Denver. Denver might be 3 hours, just roughing it based on eye. Once you're at Denver, you kind of prep to cross the Rockies, fly up over the Rockies. In this airplane, that's not going to be that's not a trivial thing. We are going to have to, you know, think about that. That's actually where we first flew this airplane out over the Rockies. We're also going to have to make a turn here in a second, so let's just start bringing it right. Rockies, that's Denver. So flying over the Rockies and then maybe Salt Lake City would be the next one. And then you're kind of flying over Nevada, and somewhere in Nevada. You could stop in Reno, you could stop somewhere else, but Salt Lake City or Reno, and then a short hop to San Francisco would be kind of the end of that run. So that's kind of what we're thinking. Again, it's probably on the order of 10 flights. You just throw it in nav and be a little lazy here. 235, this should give me my new number here shortly. 284, so heading 284, so let's go to west. We're finally heading west, and then 28234. So west heading 284 with 3,500 feet. So just a rough kind of idea of where we're going from here. Yeah, there'll be a lot of flights, and it should be good fun. The Red User, hello, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming along. We're doing VFR flying out across the United States in the Cessna 310R. And we should be coming up on Trenton in a minute. We just made the turn at Robbinsville. And then Trenton Mercer is going to be Tango Tango November. I don't know that I see it here. Because that's Pottstown. I should see it. It's a towered airport. Well, we just passed the Robinsonville VOR, so it should be in here, in this center of this airspace here. The city of Trenton, New Jersey. And again, a lot of history in this part of the world. A lot of the Revolutionary War for America was fought between Philadelphia and New York for many years, until it kind of expands out beyond that to places like Saratoga and Yorktown. But a very historic stretch, and it's not really even that far between New York and Philadelphia. It's probably half hour by plane. Again, it's not very far. So we're just going to skirt. We're not going to really go inside or under the Philly Bravo, but we are going to get kind of close to Philly. When we could, there's no ATC online, so we can do whatever we want, but we're flying as if we are in the most restrictive control environment. So again, Philadelphia will be down off to our left here. As we get ready to overfly the Delaware River of George Washington Crossing fame. Not exactly here, further up, I believe, but yeah, that's the Delaware River. Flows all the way out to past Philadelphia, out to the Atlantic Ocean. And we will still be a good ways from Philadelphia. So let's see, is there any nav aid in there? Probably. And again, overflying Trenton here, let's see if we can get a good view of some of the scenery. Out over the river. And there it goes. Let's get another view going. out over New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. Let's see, are we legally in Pennsylvania? I believe so. And some Toolkit Pro is showing that we have some weather. I'm not seeing any weather, so we'll count ourselves fortunate at the moment. And again, so out that way you can see it a little better, the Philadelphia metro area. Now, what's it beeping at me about? Anything? Unless I'm making that up in my head. We're in the green everywhere. Things seem to be okay. How's our temperature? Cool and steady. We'll take that. Thank you all for joining us on Leg 1 at Transcon 2022. Cessna 310R out over Pennsylvania now. We're heading for the Pottstown VOR, just outside of the Philadelphia area. Philadelphia is going to be off to our left. Yeah, I think you can actually make out the airport down there, one of those patches of gray should be the Philadelphia International Airport. We're hanging north of the Bravo, heading straight for the Pottstown VOR. Once we hit Pottstown, we're going to make a left-hand turn and then head down for Gettysburg. Now, along the way, we will hit, we'll be south of Harrisburg, which would be a bigger airport, larger international airport, Mike Delta Tango. But that's about another, again, 100 miles from the Pottstown VOR. That VOR is going to be at 116.5, so 116.5 here. We'll try that. So hanging out today, Cessna 310R on BatSim, quiet on Unicom at the moment. It looks like we don't have New York online still, so we will see what we get. So obviously we're flying this VFR flight as X-Plane 12 came out a couple days ago. Still on the fence about that one. I don't know if I want to get X-Plane 12 or not. It's one of those things where I don't need it, but if I convince myself there's a business case to it, there would. The thing is, I look at X-Plane as having a lot of the really cool airliners that we don't yet have in Flight Sim. And that's the real draw for me, or at least it was back 6 months ago. I was definitely considering picking up X-Plane 11 on sale to fly 737. Now I'm not so much there. I'm looking at them all and saying, well, is there anything out there for X-Plane 12 that we can't do here that we'd like to do? And obviously some of the good airliners are pretty cool. You know, the 757 or 777, 767, or any of the Airbuses, like a long hauler. But those things are big investments for a sim. So before you drop $70 or $80 on an airplane like that, in a sim you just got, it's just, are you sure that's worth it, or do we wait for, you know, triple or PMDG 777 in Flight Sim, which you'd kind of hope would come out next year. I'd be surprised if the 777 doesn't come out next year. So that's where, you know, it's like, that's the internal debate for me, is X-Plane 12 worth it or not? I'm, you know, sure, it's a great technical sim, but 6 months ago I would have bought it, almost unquestioning. Now I'm just, it's more of a debate. Definitely more of a debate. So we will see if we get any X-Plane going on the channel. I again don't know. I'm pretty heavily committed to Microsoft, and I don't see that changing with X-Plane 12 coming out. But it is, you know, it's a good option. Competition's good for everybody. So we're out over, you got Philadelphia off our left. Still, we're just kind of out over the northern side of it. Head for the Pottstown VOR. It's right by a smaller airport, single runway. Then we'll make a left-hand turn heading 263. We'll go out over Lancaster, as the Pennsylvanians would have you call it, and then over York, and then on our way to Gettysburg. Get a little GoPro view going. So as far as general regional highlights around this area, Amish country, Lancaster, that area is around here. Obviously we're going to Gettysburg, big Civil War area, but yeah, this is an old part of Pennsylvania. So eastern Pennsylvania. Old people have been living here a long time, a lot of history throughout this whole corridor, but definitely passing through that. Once we pass through Lancaster, we'll have Harrisburg off our right, state capital of Pennsylvania, and we'll start getting into the mountains. And we'll just be starting to think about mountains once we get to Gettysburg, but we will get to fly over some good mountains here in a little bit. But the terrain should get hillier as we get closer in. We'll be crossing over the Susquehanna River, which flows into the Chesapeake Bay, which eventually dumps out into the Atlantic Ocean down by Norfolk. So we're trundling along in our 310R. What are we making? 173 knot ground speed. We're not really pushing it that hard either. Let's do a fuel check. We've been flying for, how long have we been flying for? It's a good question. So I guess why they have that clock thing. We would have departed around 7:45-ish, so. We're not quite to 90 minutes yet on the tanks. I don't know if we'll get there. Well, let's just check our main fuel. It's already on that, but we're down at around 200 pounds of fuel, so 2/3 of a tank in the mains, and then we have a little bit in the aux tanks if we look. Just about 50 pounds in each aux tank. So looking good on fuel. We're coming up to the Pottstown VOR now. We're going to make a left-hand turn. And then head out towards Lancaster and Gettysburg. Should be the turn right about now. Now, I believe that cooling tower is coming from We Love VFR. Their region 1 or 2. At least the smoke is. I'm not sure if the model is or not, but that is charted on the landmark, 765 feet, so we'll keep an eye on that. And flying out here over the Schuylkill River, that's going to flow also down towards all the way to Philadelphia. So it'll head into the Delaware River right around downtown Philadelphia. So those are always fun ones too. If you do river runs, that's a good way to do it as well. I've done a Rhine River run, which was good. Took me through a lot of Europe that I hadn't seen before. So it's a good excuse to fly. They're all good excuses to fly. So we're on the final leg now. We've got, how much? 80 miles to Gettysburg. There's a small airport at Gettysburg. I haven't really done a ton of research about the airport that it's at. Now, if we need to bail out, we can go to York. We also have a prohibited airspace down to the south that we'll have to keep an eye out on. I mean, it should be no factor, but you never know. Let's grab Sky Vector here. So the prohibited area is some kind of retreat or high-level members of the government or something or other. I don't ask questions. But they come out. We're going to come out over Lancaster here, York, on the other side of the Susquehanna River, and then down to Gettysburg. Regional here, Whiskey 05. So a small field, we shouldn't have any problem with that. If we need to keep going, we can go up to... you could go up to Franklin County Regional here. We could keep on going, stop short of the mountains, or we could even keep pushing. So you could head up towards, start heading towards Altoona or Johnstown here, a towered airport. And then you start getting towards Philadelphia, or towards Pittsburgh on the other end. But again, that's another probably 80 miles to Johnstown. But so far, so good. We've made a good time. I think we've gotten it started. So we'll probably stop at Gettysburg. We'll do a little bit of an overflight of the Gettysburg battlefield. And then we'll land at Whiskey 05. So let me pull that up. Let's get some information. 05. Gettysburg Regional Airport. It's at 553 feet. We have the options of a runway 6 or a runway 24 at 3,100 feet, which should be good for us. It'll be a little you know, it's a little short, but not too terrible. What's Montauk? Kilo Mike Tango Papa. For reference, yeah, Montauk has a 3,200 foot runway, so it's about the same as Montauk. So runway 6, runway 24, let's see what the prevailing weather is. Let's see if we can get anything at Gettysburg Regional Airport. I was reporting wind 330 at 4 knots. We can also look at Mike Delta Tango. Harrisburg, just a little bit north, is reporting wind 320 at 3. So not a ton of wind. Altimeter 290, Whiskey 05. So yeah, 330, 230. If the wind holds, we will plan to come in on runway 24. And we'll do it that way. But making pretty good time so far. I'm getting a little cloud cover here too. So again, remember we're VFR, so we need to avoid the clouds. We need to maintain VFR. Now it looks almost like it's just this last little bit here. But we shall see. And again, if you haven't voted in our poll for today, we're asking the question of which do you prefer, flying east to west, flying west to east, or some other combination, like you go north to south. I think my answer, which is not even polled, is northeast to southwest, just because I fly so much of the eastern seaboard on VATSIM. But hey, maybe you like to start in LA and head towards New York, or maybe you like the other way. I don't know. So a little bumpy now. It's about 9:15 local. I'm not sure what we're at in sim time. Well, we'll be coming up on 90 minutes soon, so if we did want to switch over to the aux tanks, we could do that. We have probably another 20 minutes or so remaining. 55 nautical miles to Whiskey 05, the Gettysburg Regional Airport. So we're coming over Lancaster now. We've got the airport, should be off under us somewhere. Yeah, over there. So that should be the Lancaster Regional Airport, or whatever they call it. Yeah, Lancaster. Lima, November, Sierra. And you can see Susquehanna River down that way. That'll take you all the way to Harrisburg, or all the way to the Chesapeake Bay, if you want to go that way. So heading up down the next one, on the other side is going to be York, the American York. And then, yeah, we're going to keep on trucking. We'll pass that airport, and then, again, we're just about 50 miles from Gettysburg. And you can almost start to see the mountains starting to come up off the horizon. You can start to see the ridges that we'll be crossing in not too long. Not this episode, it looks like, but the next one. So crossing the river now. Yeah, we keep moving west, starting to get a little hillier again. You can see the mountains starting to come up. We'll pass the mountains, and then it'll go real flat for a long time. That's an oversimplification, but it will. Again, don't forget to vote if you haven't voted already in the poll. Which way do you prefer to fly? It's a very hot topic. The hot topic of flight sim these days. Which direction of flight is your favorite? Mostly depends on where you fly. Whatever reason you have, it's good enough for me. We're here flying east to west on this one. And then who knows what we'll do for future Transcons, but it is an option. And it's just different. I mean, the west, flying east to west for a Transcon flight, especially a GA one, gives you a lot of the challenging terrain, and the big mountains are on the back half of the trip, whereas we'd basically be flying over. I mean, if we were going the other way out of, say, San Francisco, we'd basically be heading out over mountains, heading towards Reno, and then out over the desert. So just depends on what you're looking for, what you're in the mood for. But yeah, these long trips are fun, especially in a plane with state saving like the 310. I need to update my track. 265. But yes, a plane with state saving like the 310R, I'm excited for that. Just to kind of fully get some use out of that. This is set to be an owned airplane for us. 866 Tango Whiskey. So it should be set up the way we leave it. Now we're coming up on the town of York now. York, Pennsylvania. And the state capital, Harrisburg, is just up the road, or up the river that way. There is an airport. We could do some 737 stuff into Harrisburg. Just off, yeah, it should just be off our right wing. I don't know, is that MDT there? You might be able to see the actual airport off in the distance. It's pretty cool. Getting over downtown York now. So that's York. We're going to overfly the York Airport. Out here, that's another alternate if we need to go somewhere else for whatever reason. Weather is good. Wind Where is the airport? I can't see it still. And now we're on kind of the last leg for, there's the airport right there. I'm looking around for a big multi-runway thing. About 20 miles now to Gettysburg. We're starting to get into the general Gettysburg area. Obviously, the mountains here, Maryland will be off to our left as we come on down. And obviously, Gettysburg, one of the more famous battles of the American Civil War, the northernmost battle, the turning point of the war. So we'll fly around a little bit of the battlefield. I've been there a couple times in real life. But it's also pretty, you can pick it out from the air, it's kind of neat. And out here you can notice it's getting a lot hillier than it was on Long Island as we get closer to the Allegheny Mountains. And then we'll basically cross the mountains through Pennsylvania, through southern Pennsylvania, up towards, I guess, yeah, Johnstown, and then Pittsburgh would be our next big city stop. We come into Allegheny County, the old, we've been there once for the Boeing 247. And it looks like we do have New York Center online, actually. I don't know if we'll listen to him. 125-325. 125-325. We're out kind of in the reaches of their airspace.
American 1153, read back correct. Expect runway 9 or left for departure. Push and start at your discretion. Call me for taxi.
New York Center, good evening. November 32 with Charlie with you for group 11,200 for 6,000.
November 32 Whiskey Charlie, New York, hello. Fly heading 180 vectors into Teterboro.
Fly heading 180 vectors into Teterboro.
32 Whiskey Charlie, the altimeter 29905.
Altimeter 29905.
So thank you all for coming along. We are heading towards Gettysburg now, the final stretch of this first
American
leg.
1822 New York,
Omega 38K, welcome aboard. How you doing today? We're on the last little stretch here towards Gettysburg. We departed Montauk on the very far end of Long Island about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. We're now coming toward, we flew through New York, down the Hudson River Special Flight Rules area, the VFR corridor under the Bravo. Got to listen to the big jets talk to each other. And then flew over Princeton,
Fairwing
Trenton,
1776, climb and maintain flight level 340.
and then on to just brushed the northern edge of Philadelphia.
See ya.
And then on down to Gettysburg here, where we are probably going to park it at Whiskey 05, a nice uncontrolled airstrip, Gettysburg Regional. We got about a 3,100 foot runway to work with. Should be plenty. We'll do a weather check here. The METAR, they're still reporting 330 at 4 knots for the wind, which should be fine. We'll come in on runway 24. Runway 24. But we'll kind of orbit the area a little bit and just kind of descend in place over the Gettysburg area. Coming for the again, capital Pennsylvania's off that way. Harrisburg,
219er, contact Boston Center,
Maryland
134.7,
will be off to our
34.7.
south. We're relatively close to the Maryland line. We'll make on doing
Delta
pretty
32
well.
Heavy, New York
Had been a
departure,
very
radar
enjoyable flight
contact,
here.
turn left heading 060,
I do always like
climbing
these
maintain
grand tour type
170,000.
flights. I don't do enough of them.
17,000, 17,000 for Delta 32 Heavy.
All right, so I'm going to take control here. Let's start slowing it down a bit. So let's give that a shot. Just gently start coming down, and there, off our left, is the actual town of Gettysburg itself. Fairly small town.
Delta 32 Heavy,
But
direct
there it is. So
correctly
let's
when
see
able.
if what we can pick out. So again, most of the battle actually happens north of the town. And we'll see if we can pick out the big ridges. Let me pull up a map. I'm not going to pretend like I am.
Delta 32 Heavy, it's direct recce.
Radio problem.
I'm not going to pretend like I know the Gettysburg battlefield map by the like the back of my hand.
Inbound for a straight in on runway 2, Hagerstown.
So we're overflying the town now. Not now. That's a theater map. Or so I guess it's a little south of the town.
Fairwing 1776, leaving my airspace, Washington Center.
So setting up a bit of an orbit of the town. We're facing south now. So again, really out this way is the majority of the battlefield. Let's see if we can see any of the monuments.
32 Whiskey Charlie, would you prefer the ILS
I'm out
picture
here.
or
I
the
know there's a
visual
visitor
indicator
center
resume?
out here, but it is a pretty cool town. Been a couple times. It's well worth a visit. They have a nice visitor center if you're there
14,000 for
in real life.
Unit 2398, New York, hello. Newark altimeter 29902, plan the ILS 4 right approach.
So we're over Gettysburg now. Over Gettysburg. I bet that right there is the, I would
King
imagine
Air
that's
416 Bravo
probably
Whiskey,
the,
New York departure radar contact, turn left heading 070,
I
climb and
bet that's the
maintain
visitor
7,000.
center.
It's going to be 7,000 feet.
So New York to Gettysburg. Not that far of a flight in the grand scheme of things. Obviously the site of one of the biggest battles in the American Civil War. I think it is the biggest. And one of the most consequential. Also the famous, obviously, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Right here. So we've seen quite a lot of history today. That's going to be a lot of this particular flight that we've done. And just flying around this area, there's a ton of that kind of stuff everywhere you look. So no
Sub
shortage
32,
of
contact Boston Center
very historic
134.7,
places to
34.7,
fly and enjoy. So let's check it out. The next leg, I'm not saying it's less
6 Bravo
historic.
Whiskey, climb and maintain 15,000.
I'm going to shut off ATC so I can focus. I'm not saying it's less historic, definitely. But it's a different kind of historic. We're going to probably, so the next one I think we're going to end up heading towards Dayton with as the end goal through Pittsburgh. So Dayton through Pittsburgh. But let's pick out the airport now. I believe this is it here. So this is going to be Gettysburg Regional Airport, Whiskey 05. We got a 3,100 foot runway, runway 24, or runway 06. And it's at 500 feet. So we're going to descend and just kind of circle in place to the north of here and come into land. It'd be a cool place to fly. And we'll start bringing our speed out too a little bit. And just keeping an eye out. We do have terrain and the ridge to our north. Basically all around, actually. And again, we're shooting for runway 24. So we'll basically probably do a loop and then come in for a downwind for runway 24. We're now at 1,500 feet. That'll probably do it. Let's get our props forward. Let's maintain altitude, and now I'm just worried about speed. So let's loop it a little bit. We could do a nice, well, let's check terrain. Yeah, we can do a nice wide loop here. Coming into land at Gettysburg Regional Airport. Coming into land at Gettysburg Regional Airport, and I'm not keeping up with any of that. And if you haven't voted yet, make sure you vote in our very, very, very scientific and, you know, we're doing real important work here. Which direction of flight do you prefer? So make sure you register your opinions in the really pressing, you know, sim disputes of the day. That's, I think, what's really important for us to keep in mind. Am I going to overshoot this a little bit? I might. Whiskey 05. Again, we're trying to lose some speed here. We're coming in a bit hot. We're kind of all over the place, and that's all right. Gettysburg traffic, twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey. We are entering a downwind to land runway 24 Gettysburg. So I just got to get it down below. We're actually, I think, good for...
Hagerstown traffic, Icon 22 Alpha Tango, clear, runway 2, Hagerstown.
Probably good here, so let's come in now. You can see the runways. We've got the threshold markers. I don't see the runway number, but that's all right. Let me see if I can get us down to an appropriate speed. For gear. And for flaps. And there's the field. We'll just start descending for our final approach. That's flaps 15 there. Descending now. Let's bring it up, trim it out. Here it is. Let's get flight recorder going too for our landing, of course. 1,200 feet. I did forget to update my altimeter, so let's just cheat and do that. We're now really in range, so let's go full flaps. Let's give it some power now that we're going to really need it. Props full forward. Let's richen up the mixtures. Gettysburg traffic, twin Cessna 866 Tango Whiskey, turning base to land runway 24 full stop Gettysburg. And again, we just don't want to fall out of the sky if we can help it. So let's keep some power in. Let's make this turn. It's going to be kind of aggressive. We're doing a pretty tight downwind here. I do feel like this is very bumpy. That's all right. Let's bring it around. I have not overshot it. That's pretty good. Okay. We're coming in. Gettysburg traffic, 6 Tango Whiskey, short final land runway 24, full stop, Gettysburg. And now we're just kind of riding the blue line all the way down, full flaps. Probably should have put aux pumps on, but that's all right. And not the longest runway in the world, so we just want to try and, you know, plant it. 100 knots here. We're a little low, a little low. Let's keep it in, keep it in, keep it in. Come on, 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 come in fast, coming in fast, coming in hot. Here we go. Well, it felt like we smacked down kind of nicely. But at 156, that'll do. So that'll play. Welcome everybody to Gettysburg Airport. Let's turn lights off. Well, we'll get off the runway first. So let's kick it out and turn on over. And we'll do a replay before we do shut down completely. That one felt fine. I feel like we got a bit low. And then floated. So I cut power and got us down, but it actually worked out. Not much of a tricycle landing. So let's taxi on up, and we'll get the replay fired up. Welcome to Gettysburg Regional Airport. Not a very large one, 3,100 feet, but we should have a better clearance for takeoff than we did at Montauk. Hey, we even got the right runway, 24, that'll do. Flaps are still down. We'll leave everything else as is. And come in here to check it out. So stopping, let's replay it. We'll put it on final, because that's what we like to do. Coming to land, full flaps. Again, here's where it just felt real low, but that is all right. The approach lineup worked out pretty well. And we were actually pretty good on speed, too. Just a little bumpy coming down. A little bumpy, getting a little close to these houses. So again, I'd like to be just a bit steeper. Probably should have kept a little bit more power in throughout. But here, whew. That was a little closer than I would have liked on the front end. But hey, any landing that you can walk away from, I suppose, right? Not too shabby to start out Transcon 2022. All right, so let's taxi on up. Get this airplane shut down and set up for the next one. And that'll do. Okay, so we did end up in 866 Tango Whiskey. That was good. I was worried I had the wrong flight number in there. Yeah, exactly. Better than a tail dragger landing, yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. Not too bad. All right, let's park on up to next to this very, very silver Cessna. And we're here, brakes on. I can turn avionics off. Let's cut engines. Drops down, magnetos off. We didn't mess with temperature controls. I should have put the flaps up. I think they're electric, so it should work. Yeah. We can open up the door. Door wasn't locked. Thermometer's all fine. That's all fine. Fuel pumps are off. Now we can go through all this stuff. So strobe, beacon lights off. We'll retract landing gear, landing lights. Anti-collision lights are off. And in the end, nav lights can come off as well. that is all good. We can now close up the fuel tanks because we're going to be good, responsible pilots. These are the opposite direction of, so you scroll the opposite direction of what you think it should be. I don't know what that direction is. I just know it's the opposite of what I think it is every time. That's all good. All right. And we'll turn the alternators off. And battery. I should turn the lights off too if I wanted to be a conscientious sim pilot. And battery off. All right, welcome to Gettysburg. We're going to explore here a little bit and hang out. And then we'll get on our next leg of the journey, probably, I'm not making any promises, but probably next week, we'll head up Pittsburgh and then to Dayton. And if we're feeling really, really on top of it, we can go to Chicago. But thank you all for coming along on this first episode of VFR's Transcon 2022. Fun flight, lots of historic flying over cool places. One of my favorite VFR trips to do the New York Hudson River visual flight rules thing. That's a good time. Always flying up Long Island's a good time. And southern Pennsylvania is also lots of interesting terrain, interesting airports like this one. So this is actually a cool airport, small runway, but if you like GA stuff, there's, this would be a really cool place to fly in real life. So thank you all for coming along today. Really appreciate all the support. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.